and there is a paywall issue when it comes to therapy for a lot of people. Those two issues are exposed by AI, and maybe AI encourages us to rethink the ways in which we make therapy accessible to everyone. I thought that was an interesting perspective.
Also anonymity, right? Like some people find it so hard to open up, but it's perhaps easier to write
when
a text.
There's even though of course therapists are supposed to practice, they don't tell your things to other people, but I know that there is that fear. So somebody, let's get you in here now, please.
I think how I would like to start off with is saying that first of all, all the statistics that we are looking at and everything that is pointing towards that AI might be helpful. We are confusing some core components, which is, the statistic that you shared on your screen itself said AI is being utilized so much for therapy and companionship. Is therapy companionship? I mean, that would be my first question. My second question is, why do people go for therapy? And when Kumar was speaking, he said that a therapist brings in art. And why should we spend on art when it can be done in other ways, in a more sustainable ways? I had my eyebrow went up because I was like, is that all that therapists bring into a room? Art? Is it skill? Therapy is a lot more than just being an empathetic listener and, just mirroring what the person is saying. And as a therapist, I must tell you that most of the times in the initial phases of therapy, what a client or a person who walks into a therapy room is looking for is empathy, is looking for mirroring. But does therapy stop there? It doesn't stop there. It goes beyond that. And when it starts going beyond empathy and companionship, does the bot know what question to ask? And how do we decide what question has to be asked, or which part? Even when we are working in therapy and we're setting goals and we're looking at healing and recovery and connecting with the authentic self, which part am I going to work on first? Am I, just because the client has brought up something in the room, am I going to instantly start talking about it? Or am I going to decide that no, right now we're not ready to talk about this. We need to first maybe look at stabilization. We need to look at past experiences, or do I need to look at current experiences? Do I need to look at the political and cultural situation the person is belonging from, what kind of family structures they come from? When I'm giving recommendations, which many times again, therapy is seen as giving advice and telling and problem solving, which is not therapy. It is not therapy, I must tell you. Then again, are we looking at what all privileges or lack of, resources the person has? So it's not art. It's a lot beyond art. And that is why I think AI is definitely proving to be helpful. I will not say it's not helpful. It's a good starting point. It is a good starting point also for people where resources are limited. It's a good starting point for people who know what to ask and bring onto the chat. But what of the people who are not emotionally attuned, aware, or even understanding that they might be at risk of something higher? What happens in those cases? Then what do we do when a therapist is missing from that room and you just have a bot with automated patterns of response coming in?
Sure. Great points there, Shamini. And let me go back and take that up with Kumar. Kumar, anybody who understands psychology even a tad bit would tell you it's perhaps not important so much on what you're saying. It's a non-verbal cues, which is where the strength of any therapy will lie, which is where the strength of any good psychologist will lie as well. To not just go by what the person is saying, but really try and go under the layer there. Isn't that like a major slip for AI?
I completely agree on the part about non-verbal cues. And absolutely, like I said at the outset, it's not just art, it's a bit of science as well. Look at the journey of generative.
Okay, we seem to have a bit of a problem there with his line. We'll try and fix that. But on the flip side then, Shamini, then let me ask you this. But there is this question of access, right? Anybody who's ever done therapy will tell you how hard it is to find a good therapist, how hard it is to vibe with the right person.
No, and even cost post you finding the right therapist.
Yes, but even if I'm saying you were able to build that infrastructure for yourself and say that this is my self-care cost, and if I were to sort of, tap it in, but it is still very difficult to sort of get to the right person. And this is like therapy on demand. 4 a.m. I'm having an anxiety attack. I can quickly type into ChatGPT and say that, listen, tell me what to do. This no therapist can beat, can it?
Yes, I completely agree with you. The readily availability of a person that is giving you responses. But again, then I would bring it up. Is it a therapist, or is it a friend or a companion who's responding? Is it the 4 a.m. friend that you're calling and saying that, oh, I'm struggling with this, what do I do? Again, the bot is personalized after a point of multiple queries and responses. Even a bot gets personalized, I agree, and is able to give you responses that you might be seeking.
Yeah.
There is a science again behind why therapists meet a client a certain number of times or a certain hour. It's not a random, a random choice that you're making. You know what, you are struggling with depression, so I'm going to only see you once a week. There's a reason why we do 1 hour sessions, or we do 45-minute sessions with a few clients, or a 90-minute session. There's a lot of research and science gone into that also. There is a part of internal reflection that happens. And that's the part that I'm a little concerned about, because when you have someone who's readily giving you responses, where does the internalization and introspection and reflection happen? Because every time that you come up with a thought, you're going to type it out and you're going to get a response. So whose thinking is it? Whose reflection is it? So if we are living in a world where we look for instant gratification, and that itself is one of the primary causes of depression, causes of anxiety, causes of addiction. Yeah. So are we then becoming a problem solver, or are we becoming a part of the problem? And to answer to your question about therapists being available, I think, yes, I do understand that sometimes therapy can be expensive. Sometimes depending on which city you're living in, you might not have readily therapists available or accessible. But is this because there are not enough therapists, or also is it because of a systemic issue? I think India is still evolving when it comes to asking for help and for asking for, professional help. And so you might be sitting even in a place like Delhi, NCR, and you might be having suicidal thoughts, and you might think twice before going to a therapist. So it's a systemic issue. We need to definitely talk about mental health awareness, the idea of what happens in therapy, how it helps and support, how it might not look very medical in approach, and hence it's not like when you walk into a room, the therapist is going to say, okay, I'm going to treat you for 4 days and you shall be fine. Of course, there are finances involved. So again, systemic issues, but there are so many organizations, so many mental health NGOs and centers that provide pro bono work, and even private practitioners, even like me, we have discounted and pro bono sessions. So if you really put your heart to it, you can find it. But like I said, we live in a world where we're looking for instant gratification, and we want mostly from the comfort of our house, maybe our bed also.
So, can I ask you something? We don't have Kumar for this aspect, but I asked ChatGPT if ChatGPT thought it could be a therapist. And
I'm very curious to know what.
So ChatGPT itself refused. It agreed with parts of what you've said. It said what it can do is help identify your thoughts and behaviors, offer tools and techniques, provide emotional validation, and be a constant companion. This is what it said it can do. When it came to what it can't do, it said it cannot diagnose mental health conditions, it cannot offer crisis support, it cannot interpret deep trauma, it cannot replace the nuanced, evolving human relationship, and it cannot, as we said earlier, pick up on non-verbal cues. But I do want to ask you then, Shamini, because I think there's one thing you've said, and it has echoed with what ChatGPT is saying. There is a role in today's increasingly lonely world for a companion too. And I would put forth the argument that if one has had therapy, if one is aware about the ways in which they interact, knows what they're looking for in ChatGPT. So I'll give you an example. I'm someone who doesn't like the the slightly buttering up language that ChatGPT can use sometimes. You know, in those moments when you can tell ChatGPT, talk to me in a manner that is frank, ChatGPT can adapt. And let's just take that question to Kumar. Let me just take that question to Kumar, since Kumar has joined us. Kumar, we asked ChatGPT the same question. We asked ChatGPT if you think, and you know, we're making this about ChatGPT. Really, let's open this up. We're talking about all AI apps like ChatGPT, so Perplexity too. But ChatGPT itself said that when it comes to interpreting complex personal trauma, it is not the app. It said, go to a therapist. I'm here just to be a base level companion. So in a sense, hasn't it already made up its mind?
I agree. I don't think the debate is about replacing a therapist in 2025 completely. I think it's the velocity at which AI is doing that. So it's been in the hands of consumers for less than 24 months, and it's already reached this level of expertise. And I completely agree. Yes, therapy is a bit of science and art both. So the science part, definitely ChatGPT, and you've got all the research already, not just in empathy, but in terms of connecting the dots, the patterns, emotional intelligence. ChatGPT is beating the average therapist. And it's not in terms of
looking at it from a technology standpoint, but from a user feedback. That's what the research is saying. And I completely agree with all of you that yes, ChatGPT will have its limitation right now. I don't think these limitations will exist 2 years from now. Looking at the velocity of growth, looking at the available data. So the Harvard study that you quoted, absolutely right, that the number one use case is now companionship and therapy. But look at the second use case, look at the third use case. All the top three are in the realm of finding either purpose or helping people manage their lives better. If you look at the deeper meaning there, that means the top three use cases are what in many ways people are going for counseling or therapy for. Finding purpose, managing the life better, companionship, or therapy.
But Kumar, can I interrupt there for a moment to bring in what Shamini, the point that she was making? She's saying a very interesting thing. She's saying, isn't this part of the problem? In a super disconnected world where we need more human to human interaction, is dependence on ChatGPT increasing that problem? Because ultimately the algo wants you to come back to it. It's not designed to get you off it.
Well, your current query to ChatGPT said it all. It's asking you to go to a therapist for certain issues. Right. And let me then expand this argument. Why use digital cameras? Let's go back to Kodak. Why use smartphones? Let's go back to the Nokia brick phone. Why are we using Microsoft Word? Let's go back to the typewriter. And no one's denying human connection. My point is simple. If that's the key argument of AI versus human therapy is just the human connection, then does that need to be a licensed therapist?
But okay, Kumar, can I just come in? Sorry, can I just come in to ask you one more question here? I think another point that Soumni was making that was really interesting was that when it comes to disorders, so for example, an anxiety, you want to encourage your client to think for themselves. So even if they are over-reliant on a therapist for the first year, they need to call up their therapist, ask them to calm them down. After a certain point, you want to cultivate a sense of independence in your client or in your patient. And that's where I want to ask you.
It increases dependence.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure that a machine would, especially a ChatGPT or a Perplexity that is built to be there when you need it, would be able to say, you know what, today I'm not going to give you any answers. Today we're just going to sit with you as a therapist would, but you're going to come up with the answer yourself. That kind of EQ, I know you're saying in a few years we'll see from machines, but I don't know if that's necessarily true.
No, if you actually look at two of the studies that you quoted, and if you look at the actual research paper, the emotional intelligence part, not ChatGPT, but AI is already doing it. So two of the specific AI, I think it was Therabot or Eliza, I'm not sure which one.
Therabot.
They're already doing that, right? So as long as you approach the AI with a structure, to say, these are my issues and, this is the plan that I need. It's actually perfectly, solving that problem for you. I completely agree with you, Sonal, and Toya, that yes, we are giving our lives to the hand of technology a little more closely if we are using ChatGPT or AI for therapy. But hey, look at the other side. I have clients as a neuroscientist. We see clients who've been going for therapy for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And they've been shunting from therapist to the other, sometimes remaining with the same one for 5 or 7 or 8 years. And when they come to me, yes, they've been given tools to manage anxiety or tools to manage their ADHD or depression, or have finally moved on to, medication. But where is the resolution? For a minute, can we shift our focus to saying, where are the results? And if all the studies that we have quoted, about 7 or 8 of them, are giving results.
Yes. I know Shamini has been listening into all of this very patiently. Let me give her a word as well. But can I shift the focus slightly to say that, okay, it's not just about a particular chatbot. Now there are therapy specialist chatbots, which is what Kumar was actually getting at. There is a TheraBot, and there are some which are made in India as well, which sort of specialize the information. The algo is like the brains of thousands of therapists put into one. So that's really the game there, that listen, this is not just information which is random or picked out of somewhere. These are actually therapists whose minds have actually been rolled into one. Have you, Shamini, first tried any of them? What have been your thoughts about it?
I was just going to come to that. I think to tie into what you were asking as well as what Kumar is saying, first of all, I have tried a few things to see for myself. Like, I'm not close to the idea of AI being a supportive tool, but I do still have my reservations about what is that support? I mean, have we defined that support? And I have tried a few tools and I have tried a few things. I have to tell you that as a therapist, that when we say someone is struggling with something, like let's say if it's depression, if you see one client with depression, you see one client with depression. It's not that it means that you now know how to handle depression in all clients, because the reason why depression has emerged in that client and that client is struggling with depression could be each client comes up with different reasons and contexts and scenarios and triggers, and that is where the nuance of therapy comes in. So when Kumar says does it have to be a licensed therapist? My answer is yes, it has to be a licensed therapist, whether it's a therapist in person or whether it's behind a computer screen. And that is why also in today's world, we have people like coaches emerging, because everybody thinks therapy is replaceable. Therapy is something that someone who can come and sit and listen to you, examine and evaluate your patterns, and then tell you this is what has to be done. That's not therapy. I'm repeating it again and again. That's not therapy. That's just being a mirror or echoing or sometimes being a compassionate partner. Therapy is a lot more than that. What about the nervous system regulation? Who does that? Does a client know that they need a nervous system regulation? And if they don't know how to indicate that or bring that up or say that to a person or even a bot, then how does the nervous system regulation happen, which is a primary part of therapy?
Right.
Secondly, most of these bots are based on CBT, and CBT is right now not one of the primary therapy models that is being used.
Sure.
So,
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm really sorry to interrupt, but we've completely run out of time. But perhaps we can take this conversation forward later as well. But I have to say, it's been extremely fascinating to listen into both of you. I know both of you have stuff to say, and so do we. But we have to take a commercial break, but we'll be back in a moment and we'll continue with the rest of the show as well.
All right, on the other side, we are bringing you something entirely different. So we are staying with technology, but we are looking at how technology is saving lives. What you're looking at on your screen is a water drone that is making waves. Can it make a difference in flood-prone northeastern states? We are going to tell you a little bit more. We're sitting down with the founder.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Audacious attacks on mainland Russia in the 3 years since this war began. On Sunday, Ukraine sent over 100 drones and hit as many as 5 air bases deep inside Russia. They claim they've destroyed up to 40 aircraft, some of them in the most spectacular attack called the Spider's Web. Some of the downed air assets include strategic nuclear bombers like the Tu-95s. And this comes on the eve of the second round of talks between Russia and Ukraine, which happened in Istanbul today, but no breakthrough in those talks. We're now being joined by aviation expert Angad Singh to try and get a sense of what was so incredible about this drone attack by Ukraine yesterday, both in its scale and its scope.
There's two elements to it. One is, of course, the fact that this is one of the largest and most consequential drone strikes ever conducted in the history of warfare. So there's the offensive element of it. And then, of course, on the receiving end, it's not that Ukraine struck population centers or infrastructure or even military industrial infrastructure. They went straight for strategic bombers. So there's definitely a messaging intent behind this. These are the sort of prize elements of Russia's arsenal, and they have been central to Russia's airborne attacks on Ukraine for the last 3 years and a few months. So there was a messaging element to the specific targets that were prosecuted by the Ukrainians.
But the fact that some of these air bases that were hit were more than 4,000 kilometers deep inside Russia, deep inside Siberia, and this entire operation, Spider's Web, was planned for the last 18 months. The sheer spectacle of it, what does it say to you about how this may, if at all, change the course of the war?
Absolutely, yeah. The depth of these strikes is unprecedented. These are sort of cruise missile class of targets and ranges that we're talking about. These would require strike packages of many tens, if not dozens, of aircrafts to prosecute individually. And so to do all this, granted, it took them a year and a half to put all the pieces in place. But to have done this, and in the state that the Ukrainian military is in, without the kind of exquisite weaponry and airborne platforms required to deliver that weaponry available to them, to do it by drone and to do it in this sort of covert manner, deep inside Russia's heartland, is quite shocking.
And finally, drones are here to stay. I mean, we're also coming off on the back of these swarm of drone attacks that we saw between India and Pakistan back in May in Operation Sindoor, those 4 days between 7th and 10th of May. Are drones the future of warfare now?
I think one is it validates the place that these low-cost, attritable drones have in any serious military's order of battle, which that we've seen evidence of in both India and Pakistan and in this operation.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Audacious attacks on mainland Russia in the 3 years since this war began. On Sunday, Ukraine sent over 100 drones.
All right, welcome back. Now let's take you to our person of interest. Torrential rains over the past 3 days have unleashed severe floods, landslides and flash floods across several regions, and they've claimed multiple lives. Now, who we're going to be bringing on to the show today is someone whose technology can actually make a change to the lives of those who've been affected. It's a beacon of hope. We're going to have the Indian Rescue Academy's founder. They've introduced a Portugal-based technology of ITIS water drone. It's a remarkable new tool that can aid in different kinds of flood relief efforts.
Now, what makes the ITIS water drone stand out is that it combines speed, strength and reliability to quickly reach the stranded victim, deliver emergency supplies in the country's most vulnerable regions. It also has a capacity of carrying 100 kgs of weight. In situations where every second counts, this drone, sort of advanced technology, could mean the difference between life and death. And the perfect example of how this innovation is stepping up is to tackle one of India's biggest challenges, the flood disasters. And we have the founder and CEO of ITIS, Ankit Wak, with us on the program this morning. Hi, Ankit. So glad that you could be with us here today. But before we sort of go into him and we bring him on, let's just take a pause to see for ourselves what this water drone is really all about. Take a look. Now, how cool is that? It looks exactly like a life jacket, and it's there behind Ankit as well, who joins us live now. Ankit, really cool stuff. I want to understand use cases first off the bat from you and the capacity that this water drone can carry.
Good morning to the both of you. I think the ITIS water drone, which is co-branded with USAFE here, is a game changer of sorts. The reason being that it is not every time that a swimmer or a rescue lifeguard can go out to a victim and can reach it as quickly as the remote control lifebuoy, as we call it, or as the government designates it also, can actually make it to the victim. So this is a capacity enhancer. It's able to get to the victim as soon as possible and be able to get the victim back or stabilize the victim in any kind of flood or emergency scenario, especially in water.
So, Ankit, you have a really interesting story yourself. I hope it's okay if we spend a few minutes discussing
Absolutely.
it. You're someone who used to be an international athlete, I believe a swimmer also. And now the rescue services that you run, they assist states over the years in different kind of rescues. So can you just walk us a little bit through your own story, how you came to founding this in the first place, and the different ways in which before this drone lifeboat, you were helping out in different emergencies?
Absolutely. So, like you said, I used to be a swimmer. I swam for the country. I swam for World Championships. I eventually moved to Australia to learn new techniques in life saving. At that same point of time, I was also undertaking some basic education overseas. I think, as would happen to most swimmers, I got sick of swimming in a box of 50 meters by 12.5 meters in chlorinated water every day. So I got into what is called in Australia surf life saving. So surf life saving is a major culture in Australia where volunteers compete in ocean sports, and they also work in the ocean and contribute to community by on weekends by being lifesavers. I went up the chain in surf life saving, got a lot of experience in a whole lot of things, from being a lifeguard on a beach to understanding administration and overall concepts of life saving as the future worked on. I've been able to work in life saving not only in India, but not only in Australia, but in the UK, in Italy, and various other countries. So got a very global perspective. That's when I realized I think this was something that was majorly lacking in India. and I came back to form ITIS. ITIS is the Greek god of safety. The original objective of ITIS was to make world-class equipment, but I also realized very quickly that with the Indian Rescue Academy, our training department, the customers who were primarily government, such as NDRF, SDRF, fire departments, home guard, civil defense, these guys wanted to learn the skills that I had acquired over the years. So I developed a really good team of trainers. Today, Indian Rescue Academy has trained over 65,000 rescuers across India, and about 90% of them are from the government space. So, all the organizations that I mentioned, they all go through their post-service training with us. That's when we realized that introducing new technology into this into rescue services in the country are especially important. With the current government under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji taking up technology in a big way and embracing technology, we thought that this would be the perfect move to make, and hence
Sure.
one of the outcomes of that is the water drone.
Right. Ankit, I'm very interested to understand the tech behind this a little more. And I feel like you really need to put your hands on that, on that drone behind you to actually show it to us in detail. And also, it looks like it's pilot controlled. Is it AI driven? What exactly is the tech really built on? Is it automatically hunting for the person or the thing in need, or are you driving it? Like, how does it really work?
Okay, so like you said, it's actually a remote control life buoy. So if you remember those rings that you have in your swimming pools whenever you went for a swim, it's made out of similar material. It's made out of HDPE. But the good thing is it's got its own internal drive system. So a previous version of it had a self-righting buoy on top, so that in case it ever flipped, it was able to right itself. But this version has got two drives. So it's got a drive on this side and it's got a drive at the rear. It works on an electric jet pump. So impellers inside it suck the water in and throw it out the bottom of it at a really fast speed. And the jet pump's nozzles are able to be, tilted every direction. They're omnidirectional. So you're able to then maneuver the life buoy, so to say, towards the victim. It's very easy to use. It comes with a typical joystick kind of a remote. So it's what kids today are playing with. You get off your PlayStation, you've got the same kind of easy to use capability that you can have. And it can be placed anywhere. It's able to, it doesn't use AI at the moment and does not autonomously look at victims. So you have to go with line of sight. But I think in the future that is something that can be looked at. But we've not worked on that at the moment. But there are versions of it which can have potential military applications, potential beyond the rescue work that it is doing. But obviously, eventually, it is to save lives for the nation.
So, Ankit, we want to talk about that exactly right now. The floods that are going on in the northeast, or other flooding situations that have taken place. Walk us through adapting it to the Indian context. So, what I mean when I say that is low visibility, for example, working with our forces on the ground who are engaging in these rescue efforts. What have been the trickiest parts in that adaptation process, and is it complete? Is it ready to be used now in all flood situations? I believe the first rescue happened a month ago, is what I was reading, but yes.
Absolutely. So I think one of the key things is for us to understand is getting into the water or being aquatic in nature is not part of our Indian culture. So it is something that is kind of alien to us to, swim and go and rescue someone. It is something that has to be taught and, enhanced and enforced over a period of time. That's something that we've realized with the Indian Rescue Academy. One thing that this kind of equipment actually is able to surpass is that fear, and therefore you're able to put it in the water where traditionally a swimmer might not be able to reach quickly or might not be willing to go there. Additionally, it also could be used in swift water, so you've got really strong flowing floods. Your remote control life buoy is able to get in, able to be reaching people in as fast as 20 knots of swift water. So that's what happens in urban flooding today primarily, or even in rural flooding. Like you mentioned the northeast states, you've got some of the biggest rivers in the northeast, and especially because of the hilly terrain, the rivers flow very, very quickly. So that is exactly where this kind of equipment is becoming a game changer. We've sold these to the National Disaster Response Force. The Army uses it. The Navy uses them. They also have application with the Oil and Natural Gas Corporation (ONGC) for rig as potential life-saving equipment on the rigs. So it's really being taken up by the government very, very quickly.
Oh, that's great to know, Ankit. I also want to understand the reach of this drone. If you're saying it is not AI powered and it does not really have eyes of its own, if I can put it sort of, dumb it down for our viewers as well, then how exactly is it navigating and how far can it go?
Well, you can do rescues within line of sight. So ideally, you could do a rescue within about 500 to a kilometer of range. And that is when it's most effective. Also, when you were not in line of sight, the challenge is for you to be able to visually pinpoint and be accurately able to, hone down on a victim, so to say. So it's got good range and good capability to be able to, maneuver. It was developed out of big wave surfing and in Portugal. So there were a lot of requirements. Some of the biggest waves happen in Portugal. If you've heard of Nazaré, it's the biggest wave in the world. So the Portuguese lifeguards kind of needed a game changer to be able to access or reach the water, reach the victim when the water was rough. So this is some of the things that the remote control lifebuoy is able to, address and actually be able to save lives.
Ankit, it feels like we've just begun to scratch the surface with you, but thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing this kind of technology to our country, but also helping plug in a need that we didn't realize was just so much the need of the moment. Okay, moving on from what Ankit was telling us to a story that's relevant to exactly this, but also stories taking place around the world. First, let's take you to IPL, where the stage is set, the lights are bright, and history is calling. After weeks of intense battles, the grand finale of IPL 2025 is finally here, and it's a showdown like no other. The Royal Challengers Bengaluru had a remarkable season, finishing second in the league stage and becoming the first team to win all away games. But all eyes are on one of their key players, Virat Kohli. Will this be the year Kohli silences the critics and lifts the trophy? That's the big question.
World champion D. Gukesh secured his first classical victory over fellow Indian Arjun in a dramatic 7th round match at the Norway Chess Tournament on Monday. This win came from a position initially deemed almost hopeless. Now, the remarkable victory followed Gukesh's triumph over world number 1 Magnus Carlsen, marking his first classical chess win against him. Now, these consecutive wins sort of propelled the 17-year-old Indian prodigy above Carlsen in the standing and also placing him second behind Fabiano, who defeated Wei Ji in the match.
Yeah, obviously I feel good. I mean, it was a difficult game from the start, but it ended up well. Yeah, obviously I feel good. I mean, it was a difficult game from the start, but it ended up well.
Okay, and today is World Bicycle Day. Khelo India Centre in Bandipora organised a vibrant cycling event. This was at the SK Sports Stadium, bringing together young athletes, cycling enthusiasts and community members to promote health, sustainability and the joy of movement. In Pooch and in Pulwama, citizen rides forward, where each cycle is a silent sermon of strength, health and harmony, and this is all part of the Fit India movement. Look at those gorgeous visuals and perhaps get onto your bicycle and go for a little ride today.
All right, with that, it's now time to take you to our car and bike section. And today we are looking at the Kia Clavis. Now, it is breaking the mold of SUV dominance with its sedan crossover design, practical features. But what about performance there?
That remains the question, and Tuhin Guha of Overdrive puts it to the test to find out if it's the right choice for you in the under 20 lakh segment. Take a look.
Now, Kia India has been quite successful in carving a place for itself in the MPV segment in India. Yeah, you have the Carnival at one end and the Cirrus at the other, but the Carens has been the one that's brought it the most amount of success. You now have the Kia Carens Clavis. It's a bit flashier, it has a bit more tech and features to it. So what's it really like? Let's find out. Now, naturally, the rear seat is where most of you will spend a lot of time if you are looking at the Kia Carens Clavis. And to start with, it's very familiar to what the Carens was like, but again, there have been some improvements like in the rest of the car. The one thing that I feel is the biggest improvement or the most useful is that you now have this boss mode kind of function, so I can free up a lot of space, as you can see, very easily. This was always a very spacious car. Remember, this has a 20mm longer wheelbase than even the Alcazar and has about a 170mm longer wheelbase than the Seltos. So this is a spacious car in every sense. So I have, as you can see, a lot of place just to move my feet around, a lot of knee room, a lot of place to put my feet. And those earlier traits of there being this really nice, airy kind of cabin feel to it with the large windows, that's been made better again with this huge panoramic sunroof that's been added. Now, a lot of things again have been carried over from the last version. For example, these shades, they always help. And I still have that blower here for the second row vents. The roof-mounted air vents are a bit better placed in the panoramic sunroof-equipped versions now, although the diffused air function has been lost. You still get two USB ports, a cool storage space and a tray table at the rear. But they could have moved this air purifying kind of arrangement, they could have moved it somewhere else in the middle like how you have it in many cars, or maybe integrated it into the dashboard. It still kind of takes up the space, it looks a bit out of place. So yeah, maybe that could have been changed. But the seats themselves haven't changed all that much. So I have a lot of back support. As you can see, I'm reclined to a pretty nice angle. I can recline further still, so all that is good. But I do wish it had a bit more thigh support. I'm supported on my sides, and as you can see, even with the panoramic sunroof, I have a decent amount of headroom. The 7-seater bench option has similar legroom, but in some other aspects it betters the captain seats. You have better thigh support here and the space is wide enough to seat 3 relatively easily. In lesser variants, you have most of the creature comfort still intact, and versions without the sunroof give you a few inches more headroom. I think it rides a bit plusher than before. They've also improved the NVH, which is also quite noticeable. The 17-inch wheels over, say, a small broken patch or speed breakers, you do feel it. For example, we're going through the rumble strips, I do feel it a little bit. It has that slight sharp edge, which the 16-inch wheels don't. They're genuinely quite flush and they have that kind of floaty effect to it that you really like in an MPV. So in that case, if downright comfort is your biggest priority, then you should choose a variant with the 16-inch wheels. But this 17-inch is not bad at all. You get that nicer, smarter look. When you start moving or when the road smoothens out, you have a nice, plush, comfortable feel to the car at all times. We did notice on the highway that you have to sometimes add corrections to the steering wheel at higher speeds. The Kia Carens Clavis gets quite a few more features than before. Here's a look at what you get with the HTX Plus and the HTK Plus variants we drove. Safety is better taken care of now with ADAS now becoming available on top trims. Now with the pre-facelift Carens, one of the things that we didn't quite like was that the dash design was quite different from, say, other Kia cars, but that's not the case anymore with the Clavis, because as you can see, it's now been brought in line with what the rest of the Kia range offers. So for example, you have this fabric section here which looks quite nice and premium. There's a soft kind of feeling to it, denim-like feeling to it, which is very similar to what we've seen on cars like the Carnival and even the EV9 to an extent. That's good. Same with these more compact, slightly streamlined air vents. That's very nice as well. It obviously functions with that typical heft that you expect in these Kia offerings. And then you also have this panel here. Now you've seen this in many cars, the EV6 in particular, where you can swap and use them on the... Now, of course, there is some getting used to the fact that there are a lot of capacitive buttons, but the good thing is that you still have controls which are physical, these knobs for the fan speed and the climate, or when you change it to the music settings for the volume and the tuning. While you now have a fully digital 12.3-inch instrument cluster in the top variants, which is intuitive to use and has crisp graphics like in other Kia cars, we wish the Clavis got the latest iteration of Kia's infotainment suite as seen in the Ceros and Carnival. Yes, this unit is still easy to use and fluid enough, but the newer system builds on this and offers wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now, some other minor changes that have been made in the front of the Clavis is that the seats, at least the seat cover is new. But what hasn't changed is that great practicality that was always in the Carens. So you still have this kind of open feel, the windows are so large, you have this nice sweeping dash in front of you, and this open kind of center console and the door bin. So all of that remains. So what you do have now is of course a wireless charger here, which is great by itself. It's placed conveniently. You can put a big large phone here, as you can see. So that's good. And you also have that massive amount of storage that was always a positive. So these cup holders have that AC kind of vent cooling system to it. Now that you have a parking brake, that's freed up a little bit more space here, and this very deep central cubby. And that sense also continues to the door pockets, where you can put 2 or 3 big bottles very easily. We also spent some time in the mid-spec HTK Plus trim, which could be a great value choice if you aren't moved by top-tier equipment. It doesn't feel bare bones. Yes, you have a smaller 8-inch touchscreen, but this unit offers wireless connectivity. There are more physical controls here, especially the easy-to-use climate functions. You don't have as much of the high-quality finishes, but the fabric upholstery and grey trim looks contemporary and feels premium enough.
All right, so the Kia Clavis over there in the overdrive verdict. You can watch that entire report on our YouTube channel as well. For the moment, let's slip into a quick break. We come back with the market segment on the other side.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Audacious attacks on mainland Russia in the 3 years since this war began. On Sunday, Ukraine sent over 100 drones and hit as many as 5 air bases deep inside Russia. They claim they've destroyed up to 40 aircraft, some of them in the most spectacular attack called the Spider's Web. Some of the downed air assets include strategic nuclear bombers like the Tu-95s. And this comes on the eve of the second round of talks between Russia and Ukraine, which happened in Istanbul today, but no breakthrough in those talks. We're now being joined by aviation expert Angad Singh to try and get a sense of what was so incredible about this drone attack by Ukraine yesterday, both in its scale and its scope.
I mean, there's 2 elements to it. One is, of course, the fact that this is one of the largest and most consequential drone strikes ever conducted in the history of warfare. So there's the offensive element of it. And then, of course, on the receiving end, it's not that Ukraine struck population centers or infrastructure or even military industrial infrastructure. They went straight for strategic bombers. So there's definitely a messaging intent behind this. These are the sort of prize elements of Russia's arsenal, and they have been central to Russia's airborne attacks on Ukraine for the last 3 years and a few months. So there was a messaging element to the specific targets that were prosecuted by the Ukrainians.
But the fact that some of these air bases that were hit were more than 4,000 kilometers deep inside Russia, deep inside Siberia, and this entire operation, Spider's Web, was planned for the last 18 months. The sheer spectacle of it, what does it say to you about how this may, if at all, change the course of the war?
Absolutely, yeah. The depth of these strikes is unprecedented. These are sort of cruise missile.
Welcome back. You're with the Breakfast Club, and it's now time to look at the markets. Okay, this is a special segment of the financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's start with how markets are pegged to open this Tuesday morning. GIFT Nifty is indicating a stable opening for the Indian stock markets. US stock markets actually closed yesterday with gains after a choppy trading session. Asian stock markets trade with modest gains in Tuesday morning trade. Meanwhile, crude oil prices rise on geopolitical uncertainty and a soft US dollar.
Let's take a look at one sector in particular now. AC manufacturers were gearing up for a scorching summer that would create higher demand Most players benefited from an inventory build-up in Q4. However, it's been a mild summer relatively. Early rains have played spoilsport. The coming quarter could turn out to be challenging for these companies. You can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about this specific sector, that is, of AC manufacturers, but also various other actionable insights on the market. It is the premier destination for all investing views and financial insights that you're ever going to need, brought to you by Money Control. All right, and with that, we draw today's edition of The Breakfast Club to a close. Have you ever used ChatGPT or Perplexity to get advice for yourself? And how did today's topic change the way you think? Let us know. Send us your thoughts at CNN News 18 on X.
And tomorrow when we see you at 8 o'clock, we've got another very fascinating topic for you. We all know that COVID is in the air, but is there actual evidence of COVID leading to heart-related problems? We've got a new science. We've got a doctor who've actually performed several surgeries to give us exactly that data. See you tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
After 17 seasons of close calls, heartbreaks and near misses, the Indian Premier League is all set to crown a first-time champion. When Royal Challengers Bengaluru and Punjab Kings step onto the iconic Narendra Modi Stadium on Tuesday evening, it won't be just about the IPL 2025 trophy, it will be about history, closure and the ultimate triumph of persistence. For RCB, it has been a journey filled with individual brilliance but collective heartbreak. This will be their fourth appearance in an IPL final and perhaps their most emotional one yet. The spotlight, as always, is on Virat Kohli, who has carried the weight of expectations for nearly 2 decades. This could be his last appearance on a cricket field for some time, having recently bid goodbye to Test cricket and with no immediate ODI fixtures for India, making it a potentially defining chapter in his storied career. Kohli has once again delivered with the bat, scoring 614 runs this season, but unlike previous years, RCB's strength this time lies in the balance and depth of their squad. Phil Saul's explosiveness, Mayank Agarwal's reliability, Rajat Patidar's captaincy and contributions from Jitesh Sharma and Romario Shepherd have taken the pressure off Kohli. Josh Hazelwood with 21 wickets has led the bowling unit with remarkable composure, making RCB look like a complete, well-oiled machine. On the other side, Punjab Kings are writing a story of revival and resilience. Known for being inconsistent and finishing in the lower half of the table for years, Punjab Kings have turned their fortunes around in spectacular fashion under the leadership of Shreyas Iyer and the guidance of Ricky Ponting. This is only their second final in 18 seasons, the last one coming in 2014. And this time, they believe they can go